Welcome to the Solution to Real Estate podcast, where Jeff Sibbach and Phil Sexton come together to talk about our industry, our business, and ways that we can put the consumer first. And when we talk together, Jeff, about these topics, we actually do it in front of a live studio audience.
Live.
On Zoom.
Yes.
If anybody is listening to our podcast out there and you think, man, I wish I could join them to ask them these burning questions that I have, then just visit realestateLeopard.com and put your phone number in there and we'll ping you. We'll shoot you a text message whenever we're going live.
And
you too can attend. And what happened last podcast is that our Zoom interactive audience turned into an in-person interactive audience because JB was in town and he joined us. So not just limited to Zoomers.
Yep.
All right. Okay, Zoomer. But today's topic is more about, I feel like we got into a little bit of I felt like we put our trainer hat on last podcast where we talked about things that we did, strategies that we use on building our business, which typically we've been talking about a lot of the issues that we see in the industry.
Yes.
And we haven't gotten into the tactics of how we look at this industry to help build our business. But last week we did.
Well, last week, we were talking about how we were helping those that joined Leopard, how we were talking about how they can get leads off of their listings.
And what a property level lead is.
And I thought, well, as a subsequent podcast of first, let's tell you how you can create more leads that are feeless, not fearless, but F-E-E-less, feeless. Because when you add a rider, once you're part of Leopard and you add a rider to your listing and the consumer scans a QR code and that lead comes directly to you because we give you your listing leads off of your listings to you without a fee, then there's going to be objections. So I figured
you had a great cliffhanger last episode because you were about to, it was like you were about to talk about the most common objections that we hear from property level leads, but we were out of time.
Right. Because we talked about open house leads. We talk about Zillow leads. We talk about sign calls, and they're all property level leads. So now we need to help them.
Today's topic is
Right.
how to handle objections from property level leads.
Right.
So just because they're a property level lead doesn't mean the fish jump in the boat.
Well, the thing is just in today's world in general, the consumer is, I'm going to say, overarmed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because here's what it is. It's the change, but it's because I don't think that the world of real estate prepares agents like they should to grow their own business. So there's not been a lot of classes on how to handle the leads that come to you because the consumer's changing rapidly and how they come into us because, I asked an agent when I was interviewing last week, how long do you think a person is thinking about moving before they actually move? Let's ask the studio audience.
All right, studio audience. Linda, Michael, welcome. Stephen, good to have you. How long does a person think about moving before they move?
Before they actually transact and buy a house or sell a house. Like when does that process begin? Like, what is the time frame of how long they're in the research process?
And there's no wrong answers.
Well, I have a range of what I
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Let's hear it. Linda, I'm going to wait for your unmute
Yeah,
button.
she's
Man,
quick.
she's
Okay. I think it's at least 6 months minimum.
6
Probably.
months. Nice. And it looks like Stephen said 6 months to a year. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. Good and good. Did you say Tracy also chatted? What did she say?
She's unmuted.
Oh, Tracy's unmuted. Tracy, let's hear.
I would agree, 6 months to a year.
Okay.
6 months to
What
a
about
year.
JB? What do you think?
He's looking for the unmute button. He's so used to being in person, he could just talk then.
I was hitting the space bar. It didn't work. I hear people who are 2 or 3 years out who'll just go, hey, how's the market? And that's the issue is you never know when they're close or when they're just starting to put out feelers. But either way, they fall in the pipeline. Just
Ding, 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 ding. JB is actually accurate. Well, to me, I'm not saying that I am the, all knowing, but.
Wait a minute, let's mark the time. What, say that again?
No, but why that we believe it's 6 to 12 months is because.
It's short. We don't believe it's 6 to 12 months.
I think it's 2 to 3 years that people are thinking about moving.
Right.
But because now the consumers, because what used to happen is I would get a call 2 to 3 years out from when they were thinking about moving. And they would ask me, what are the steps? What should I look for? How do we prepare the house? Like we would go through all that. But now the first 2 years or so of the process, all the research is done online.
True.
So now we only think the reason why we heard 6 to 12 months is because that's when we start to hear from them in the property level leads. Because most of the research that's done before they start to go to open houses, before they start inquiring about houses online, because that's when we start to hear from them. So
yeah, I have a personal story.
The point is that they're coming. That's why the objections have changed over time, because they've now done all of this research, and now they're more prepared when they engage with you, because they're more ready than the agents are ready to handle the objections. What's your story?
My story is my wife and I and our 3 kids have lived in our house since 2013. It's a great place, love it, but is it the school district that we want to be in when the 9-year-old goes to high school? I don't know. I'm looking at other school districts. And so now I feel like I have this 6-year window, right? Or how old are you when you go to high school? 14, 13?
12 to 14.
12 to 14. So I've got 3 to 4 year window of watching the market with the school districts that I want to be in before I have to make a decision to buy. Right. But here I am right now starting to research the different school districts that offer the International Black or whatever program it is that we're looking at, to figure out, and here I'm 3-4 years out, right? Just like consumers, they're starting to think I'm going to retire in 3 years. I wonder if we should go to Arizona or Florida.
Right.
I'm like, not necessarily a property level lead. I'm not going to call a listing agent to say, can I see your house? But I am just starting to look.
Well, because the actual objections that we're going to get to during that is I'm not ready to move. I'm not moving, right? Because those are the leads that you get online that come in that they're not close to
moving,
getting ready to transact. So that's a different objection that you get there.
Fair,
right?
I mean, in all of the objections that you get from a property level lead, there's a phrase that Jeff Sibbach has ingrained in my mind. Do you know what phrase isn't? I mean, I know there's lots of them, but the one that I'm thinking of right now, pay attention
to what they do, not what they say.
To what they do,
yes,
not what they say.
No, that is.
And when you're a property level lead, like I'm not going to call a listing agent now because I'm literally 3 to 4 years away, but I would call a listing agent if I was closer, or I would go visit that open house if I was closer. And so if I gave the pitch of I'm not interested, thank you, I'm going to ignore what you just said to me, because you're clearly in a property level, you're a property level lead at that point. And so I'm going to pursue you as if you're ready to make a decision. You're just trying to blow me off.
Well, I mean, years ago, I used to do a lot of neighborhood tours, because the people wanted to know, and that was my selling feature.
Yes.
Because sometimes we wouldn't even look at a house.
We still do neighborhood tours.
Right. But that's usually people that are not property level leads, because they don't even care about going to see the houses.
All right, Michael, what's a neighborhood tour? Or anybody that wants to participate with an unmute button. When Jeff says, I used to do a lot of neighborhood tours, what are we talking about? Actually, Michael,
nice.
Yes. What's up, man?
Hey now. So when you say neighborhood tour, I'm thinking like you used to just go around with the camera showing people what the neighborhood is like.
That is actually, you know what? I give you credit, because we developed those type of videos on probably 1,500 neighborhoods when we were working on building our website.
Yes.
However, we took it to the next level on our neighborhood tour, because we've got a lead from an agent. We've got a lead. We're talking to that person and they say, I'm not ready to buy yet, right? I'm not ready. And so to help overcome that objection, which today's topic, Jeff, we would say, okay, cool. Actually, what we do when you're not quite ready yet is we host a neighborhood tour.
Yes.
And that is where we actually get in the car together. We schedule some times to see houses in different neighborhoods. We drive through so that I can share with you the
Chemical makeup of every
the
neighborhood.
chemical makeup of the neighborhood.
Well, to me, because what it was more, I guess it was more common then than it is now, because everybody goes online now. But people from out of state, typically the only thing that they can't find online is the chemical makeup of the neighborhood, meaning how many families live there, how many empty nesters, and of course, everybody makes the face that you do because you're not allowed to steer, but that's it was just good school districts. So, I mean, there's different ways that you would phrase it. You know, there's no steering
No,
ever.
at all. It's just storytelling of the clients that you put into different neighborhoods.
Right, yes.
And it actually is allowing you to brag about the clients that you have, because you're like, oh yeah, and John and Mary live there. Oh yeah, and Phil and Laura live there. And
Yeah.
you know, and their kids go to this school over here. The
And
reason
have
why they
a
like that
short
school.
hair terrier, and they go to this dog park over here.
Yes.
And their son likes to ride a bike, and therefore they chose Greyhawk over McDowell Mountain Ranch because it's built on hills, stuff like that. Right?
Yes. And one of the other things that I like to say is when we're pitching the neighborhood tour is that when you learn about the chemical, when we're explaining to you the chemical makeups of the different neighborhoods, what you get to see is how much further your money goes on this side of the street versus that side of the street, inside of this school district versus that school district. Like, you can spend 300,000 if your budget is 300,000 or $3 million. It looks like this over here in this neighborhood, and it looks like that over here in this neighborhood. You also get to see the architecture of the different neighborhoods, where this one might seem a little bit more cookie cutter mass planned, but the insides of the houses are nicer, where these are larger lots, more custom homes, but they're older.
It was really built on, if we have 600,000 to 700,000 in this neighborhood, we could be in a regular gated. In this one, we can be in a guard gated. In this neighborhood, you can't get a gate. In this neighborhood, you can be on the golf course. In this neighborhood, like, just so they could understand and match up what their requirements were based on what neighborhoods they wanted to be in.
And it was a softer sell when somebody comes in.
It was all focused on the people that were 2 to 3 years out, or 4 years out, or
Right.
5 years out. So that would be the average of 2 to 3, because they were always, they didn't even really care. They know what they wanted in a house. They were just trying to see what neighborhood that they could live in. So
Yeah. Nice. All right. That was one. You used to do a lot of neighborhood tours. Okay. So we also we also have people, when they come in as a property level lead, they say things like, what? You got another objection for me?
oh, I have an agent. It's like
Oh, that's awesome. Where are you guys looking?
we're looking at Troon
At Troon
and
Great.
Desert Mountain.
and Desert Mountain. Okay,
Are we
cool.
role playing right now?
No, that's what I thought that we were role playing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just wonder if the studio audience heard how I overcame your objection.
That was the first one we gave out. The challenge of the way that you and I educate people is it blends right in. And that's what makes great training is that it's hard because it just comes out so natural. Why you know, I mean, we don't make points
Yeah.
but that was the
problem is we've trained a lot of agents, and they come to us, or we'll hear calls, the recorded calls. And when somebody says, I have an agent, it stops them in their tracks,
right.
as opposed to the agent saying, what was my script? Oh, that's awesome. Where are you looking? Because then you just blow right past that. Like, everybody has an agent. We're all related to
Right.
realtors.
The key is not to let it throw you off.
You expect it.
Expect them to say, I have an agent. So can we ask them what
I have another one.
I think that the key though is to define what the consumer means by I have an agent. I just want to see right, maybe Tracy or Michael.
Tracy, you know Tracy. Tracy is a salesperson.
Yes,
Right,
she's
Tracy,
a very good salesperson.
She knows how to overcome objections.
Right. So when they say I have an agent, Tracy, what are they actually saying?
They don't want to attach themselves to you at that point.
Correct. What else? Tell me more. That's number one. That's very good. Don't want to attach themselves. Yep.
They probably know an agent and they're just using that as their excuse because they don't want to be marketed to or called, etc. at this point in time.
Right. Tracy, would you say that they're receiving probably emails from an agent they've met at some point in their career?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Maybe receiving emails. Yes. Anything else?
Am I missing something?
Well, the only one is actually the one that actually is signed to by a broker. I mean, they all say, I have an agent, all those, any one of the three things Tracy said, including ones that actually do. And that's why you have to clarify when they say I have an agent. First, you have to not get excited and ask them about their neighborhood and then readdress after, right? So.
Yeah, because when they say they have an agent, I don't assume that means they have a signed buyer broker agreement and then I don't want to interfere with that.
Oh, number 5 is a relative agent that they plan on using when they find a house, using all the listing agents to show them the houses, but their friend or their relative that's going to offer them a discount is going to represent them, right?
Right.
Relative agent.
Sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with what Jeff said.
Yeah,
true.
exactly. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
fine.
going to bug my relative until you help me find a house.
I don't want to waste my friend's time, but I'll waste your time.
Yeah.
Then they're just getting decorating ideas.
Yes. Oh, decorating
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
Yeah, it's called lying.
So the one that I used last week when we had, man, where did that lead? I can't remember exactly how the lead came in, but I'm talking to the lead on the phone and she said, oh, we have an agent. Oh, it was actually a pay-per-click lead that comes in. Our agent hadn't reached out. It had been 3 hours. So I called her. I'm sorry. It had been 6 minutes and our agent hadn't reached out. So I called the lead and guess what?
They picked up.
Yes.
Weird.
They picked up. Like, the speed to lead is still one of the best things to focus on.
They're in the moment. Yeah.
They're in the moment. She was at dinner with her husband. John was his name. And when she picked up, I said, hey, thanks. I got your email from our website saying that you're looking for properties in North Scottsdale. And she goes, oh, I have an agent. Sorry. I was just looking for I'm looking for sale by owners, she says to me. And I go, oh, all right. Did you sign an agreement with your agent that forces you to pay them a commission whether they help you find a house or not? That's the magic, Jeff.
That's it. We may need to repeat that.
And I'll repeat it. But her response was, I thought the seller paid my agent.
Actually,
that was the first time I have used that script plenty. And that was the first time I ever heard that response. That one actually paused me because I thought that was a great response because then I got to showcase what I knew about this industry and I could walk her down the path of, well, sometimes that's how it works, but not always. But yeah, so when they say that I have an agent, and one of my stronger comebacks, if depending on the sophistication that I sense from the person I'm talking to, is awesome. Did you sign an agreement that forces you to pay them a commission, whether they help you buy a house or not? Because that's in a sense what a buyer broker agreement is.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so, but the problem is the public doesn't know what a buyer broker agreement. I don't want to use those words because they don't know what that means.
8% of agents don't ask for it, so they don't know what it is.
Right. And there's also agreements that are out there that are not technically buyer broker agreements, but
You're talking about the agency form?
No, I'm talking about like, here's what it's like, a commitment letter. More of I signed a commitment to work with you as opposed to an official buyer broker agreement.
People go that far to get a commitment letter signed, but not a buyer broker signed?
What do you call the document that we have on the drive?
A buyer broker agreement.
Nice, but we don't use the AAR one?
Yeah.
What?
Who
Yeah.
said that the AR has to, they're the only ones that can create forms of
Oh,
agreements to sign?
nice. No, not at all. But some people have different agreements than the state sponsor, you know what I mean? Than the ones that come from AAR. But anyway, her comment was after I started to explain to her that the seller isn't always the one that pays the commission of the agent. As I started to go through this education piece with her, she goes, no, let me answer it. No, I didn't sign. We haven't signed anything. I said, oh, okay, great.
Great.
And
So
we
then
continue.
technically you don't have an agent.
So then technically, that's the one that if you did have a signed buyer broker agreement, I'm not going to interfere with that.
Correct.
But if you don't, then I can help you find a house.
Well, you are on the standard committee, so we figured you'd follow. all the
Hey,
rules.
thank
Yes.
you. What do you think? You ever use that? Have you ever, what's your guys' pitch? Or if somebody says, I have an agent, how do you respond? I feel like I should, boom, JB, he put his hand like it was on the phone to down, to hang up. On to the next.
Well, the thing is it is taught by lots of brokers if you ask that they have an agent, and that's why we think that is the wrong way to ask it, because it's not. Because most people think if you've been shown a house by an agent, that counts as working with them. But we all know that people actually receive emails from lots of agents when they go to open houses and stuff, and they call that working with an agent, but only
Even though there's no established agency relationship.
there's no established agency relationship. Yeah.
So another objection that we hear is they say, oh no, I was just curious. Right? eXp Realty, Sibbach team, this is Phil. Hi, Phil, I'm calling because I'm standing in front of the sign at 1123 Main Street. And I was just wondering, how much is it? What do you say? Let me pull that up.
When do you want to see it?
When do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just curious how much it was going for.
Well, if you're curious to call, wouldn't you also be curious to see it then?
Yes. How's 3:00?
Well, curious is all I need, right? Like,
Yeah.
How is curious an objection is where I'm at. Like, curious, great.
Oh, I'm just curious. I was just I was just curious.
Well-
All objections come with this body language. I was just looking. I have an agent. Oh, I was just curious. What are the other ones? It's for my sister. Oh, we're not ready. My husband doesn't want to move.
Yeah, zero commitment, right?
Right.
That's what Tracy had with her number one was, I am not willing to commit to you at this time.
Right.
But it's why.
But it comes out in all
be-
these different
but
objections.
But the theme of handling that objection is always one of service. Because
True.
if you're not trying to sell them something, if you're just trying to help them, then you can get past that, because then you're not thrown off by objections. Okay, well, great. To me, property level leads should always be set the appointment, right?
Yes.
So, right.
No question. When they call about a house, when do you want to see it is the best way to overcome any objection.
Yes. When do you want to see it? When can I get you in?
Right.
Right.
That actually, it's amazing to hear the hamster wheel in their head as you ask them that question. They totally are thrown off. They're like, I get off work at 5.
Well, I think, that
Right?
actually,
You've heard them enough.
Number two is I think you need to be time specific, right? Like okay, great. Well, I can be there at 2:00. Can you be there at 2? Right? Because
Yeah.
what happens is as you alluded to, is people buy time, and that time causes the agent to do what first, usually?
I don't know, buy time. What
By
do you mean?
time, let me check with my husband to see when they're free.
Oh, right.
I'm at dinner right now. But can you just answer my question? Right? Like, to me, they buy time because they don't know how to answer. You're trying to get them to commit to something. So,
Yeah.
but where I was at is the agent typically does what action, which is the worst action that they could do.
I can email that listing to you.
Just in anything that is referring to them looking up the property.
Oh,
Right.
right.
And that's where
Fair.
in handling
Actually,
objections, the objection is to me, is to educate agents is not to look at the house, because then you're gonna wanna
Answer.
You're gonna
You're going to want to
to
give them all the information and then lose their value
yes,
of wanting to
to
meet
me,
you.
it's always set an appointment. It's always set an appointment. Like, I can get you that information when I meet you at the house.
I actually use an excitement scale to help talk about this, because the excitement scale of the consumer has to reach a certain level before they're willing to go to meet you.
Oh, so you need to get them up the excitement scale.
Oh, well, no, hold on.
Oh,
They get themselves up the excitement scale to the point that they call you or download your QR code to see what the property is worth. Their excitement scale is at the point where they want to know more information about the house. And if we don't set the appointment right then, you know what happens to their excitement? It falls back down.
okay. So you're saying that
And then it's
your best chance to set an appointment
is when their
it-
excitement
when-
level is above the
Right.
threshold where they would be willing to meet with somebody.
So what
They would be
what-
willing to meet a stranger at a house.
What information would they give out that would lower their excitement level?
No, so here's what happens. Here's what agents do when they answer all of the questions is they like, oh, that if an agent says, oh, that property is under contract, what happens to the consumer's excitement?
50% of the time,
It goes
the
below-
conversation's over.
It goes
Yeah.
below the threshold of where it needs to be for them to be willing to meet a stranger
said.
at a property.
Good one.
And so then it's up to us, the salesperson, to re-excite them over that level so that we can meet with them, which is really hard.
And very hard.
It's manual. It's very time consuming to have to put every prospect's excitement level on your back, and you're the one that has to get them all up there.
Interesting.
So-
So a different way of looking at it.
Instead, we have to strike while their excitement level is high enough, which is where the property level lead comes in.
Yes.
That's why we schedule appointments as fast as we can with these people, because they're ready, willing, and able to meet with an agent at that point,
Awesome.
even though they may tell you, I was just looking.
Well, it's always, I was just looking. Well,
Right.
Clearly, because you called me about it, we know you're looking already.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
That's the same playbook that Zillow has. Regardless of what the listing is, meet them there. Because even though it may be under contract, you don't tell them that initially. You meet them, get their info, get them to meet you, get them to like you, and then, all right, sorry, this one's under contract. Let me go look for another one for you and get them pre-qualified at the same time.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, I feel like that's a little bit misleading. And I have a problem, like I always have to be able to sleep at night, right? And so the justification that I use to help myself sleep at night is just knowing that properties fall out, and that properties are actually more likely to fall out right now in this market than normal, because buyers have to bid so high over asking and have to be like committing to waiving all kinds of things so they can get a property under contract, that their buyer's remorse is louder than normal. And so then they're more likely to back out. So it's hard if you're going to tell them that the property is under contract, which dips their excitement level below them wanting to meet you there. You might be doing them a disservice, because in the event that that property falls out, now they're not even going to they weren't there, right? Like it's more likely that you can win that property if it falls out, if you do meet them there. So that's Carlos, thank you for your feedback, but that's why I would withhold that information right on that initial call.
To me, it's just more just the mind of service is, you know what, you want to see the house, I'm going to show you the house.
Right.
That's it. I mean, the reality is that they're going to buy a house and they need a great agent, and I'm a great agent. So they just asked the wrong question. I can't fault them for that. So
Fair. All right. What other objections you guys hear from property level leads? Come on, Mark. I know you got one for Jeff. Put him on the spot.
What?
When you get a sign call, does the person calling the sign ever put a brick wall and not want to meet you? Do they have what's their objection?
Oh, it's always the denial. I'm the neighbor that lives down the street. I just want to know what they're selling it for, and they just want information. It's just a tag to get people to make your phone ring. That's all. And to Jeff's point, you just play how can I help? How can I be of service? What are you looking for? Where are you going? Oh, so you're not interested. So your son's interested. Oh, that's great. When would he like to see it? You just keep asking him open-ended questions till you get an answer.
yeah, to me,
That's all.
great answer, great
Yeah,
comment.
nice. Thank you, Mark.
And then to me, I was just thinking, just because Carlos, thank you good to see your face again, Carlos. But to me, it's at the open house, it's still the same script, but now it's to set an appointment to see a different house. But that's the hard thing about the open house is you have to create excitement about another house without giving away the details of the house, same property level. But the objection is them not wanting to give you the correct information is the objection, right? Because we've all been in an open house and we give them a list and they say, okay, I'm not going to give you that information, or they give you the wrong phone number, a la Nancy Voorhees, right? They write down the wrong name or the wrong phone number. They flat out lie. But your goal is still to set the appointment, right? Like, to me, but because that's where you need to dangle the carrot of a unlisted property and build excitement about something they cannot see.
I actually think that it's easier to build excitement about something that they cannot see.
As long as you know what they're looking for.
Yes, I know what they're looking for.
Because they came to the house that
You're at,
and
and they saw it online.
Yeah, but that's a harder transition for many, right? Because the thing is I still think that people.
It's easier for me. So, all right, when they're dodging, when they're leaving, when they're ready to run through an open house and run out without talking to anybody, they don't want to talk to you. Those are hard ones to convert. I'll give you that. But when somebody is pleasant enough, and then when they're leaving and they say, "Lovely house," right? Because they're wanting to get out of the door.
Yeah.
I think that what did you think? Oh, it was a lovely house. That to me is an objection.
Absolutely objection.
I attack that objection by saying, "Lovely house." That's what people say when it wasn't even close to being something that they were interested in.
That's a good objection.
Usually if somebody likes the property, they're going to tell me that their dining room table wouldn't fit, or that their kid, or like they tell me what was wrong with it, but it wasn't even close. Why not?
Too small.
Too small. Got it. So you're looking for something bigger than 1,800 square feet.
Well, but but to me,
and then I can sell the next property.
well, I mean, if we're talking about open houses, that tells me that person was a drive-by, right? Because the key in doing open houses is that you market the house on the sites like the realtor.coms. And the way you do that is by putting it on open house and get it syndicated out to make sure it appears on those. Because if you want most of your traffic to be people that came off of the internet.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, that objection is somebody that's driving by. Because do you think that people, if they're looking for a house that's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a pool, that's 2,500 square feet, and they see one for 4,000 square feet, that they still go to the house?
If they're driving around the neighborhood, yes. If they're looking on their computer,
Right.
no.
And that, yes. So
Yeah.
to me, what we don't realize is it's our bad marketing efforts that cause us to only have traffic that's bad traffic.
So I want to go, I'm with you,
Okay,
but I want to go back to the objection that Mark brought up.
great.
And that was, I'm just a neighbor,
Love that objection.
right? I'm a neighbor. I live down the street, right? All right. So what do we say to that, Mark? Or anybody
We
else?
say, no, we say, go Suns, go Suns.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
that's 7:00 tonight. Absolutely go
7:30,
Suns. 7:30.
Yeah. No, I always answer, well, there's several different answers that you can answer with. So if you're not interested, do you know somebody that might be? You can pick your neighbor. You might want to pick your own neighbor. You might know somebody that's looking for a house.
That's a good one.
Awesome. Yep.
We have a little different approach, but
Yep.
we want to give someone else give a shot.
Yep. Who else wants to take a shot? Linda? Tracy's unmuted. Tracy, let's hear it.
When are you thinking of selling?
Okay.
direct,
That's the
yes.
direct. I
Did you
I
start
like
at
Tracy.
Keller Williams?
No.
Condomania.
Right. Yeah, what's that?
Condomania.
No, I know she's a condominium, but
Oh.
all right. Yeah, so actually to me, the most
I wish I was more direct.
obvious sign that realtors are not paying attention to what they do, not what they say, is the word looky-loo neighbor,
Yeah.
right?
Because we don't believe in looky-loo
We don't
neighbors.
believe in looky-loos, right? So to me, the goal
Because looky-loos change your mind that you shouldn't pursue a lead.
right.
When you
Yes.
define somebody as a looky-loo, that means that there's no value in you communicating with them.
Right. So to me,
And that's wrong mindset.
We're trying to remove the glass ceiling when it's a neighbor. And here's how you attack that is you ask them if they live in this neighbor, or you use the name of a neighborhood real close by in what we call the guess wrong.
Oh, I like the guess wrong.
The guess wrong,
Yeah.
right? Does everybody understand the guess wrong? No? So the guess wrong is a tactic when you want somebody to honestly tell you something, you guess something close to what you think they are, or, you know, something close to what the actual answer is. They correct you instinctively and give you the right answer. But it's a tactic where you purposely, but you have to get close, right? Like for instance, we're in Scottsdale. If they came in to my neighborhood in Greyhawk, I wouldn't guess Arrowhead Lakes because that's
In
12
Glendale. Yeah.
miles away. But if they come in Greyhawk, I would say, do you live in Sonoran Hills, which is adjacent to Greyhawk? And they say, no, I live in Raptor Retreat, right? So they instinctively correct you when you guess close enough, but not accurately. And we define that as the guess wrong. But the
But
point is,
sometimes you guess what, sometimes the guess wrong, you're actually right.
you're actually right.
And
yes.
they're like impressed.
Yes, and they're like, do you live there? Right, yeah. So the goal though for the neighbors, Mark, from where we're from, is to get you to drop off a CMA at their house. So the next 3 questions have to be more inquisitive, that you can find them based on tax record information. So we're being very specific with our script here, but it is true. Did everybody understand that? Because if we're going to drop off a packet of not a CMA comps, a CMA information packet,
Yeah.
you got to know where their house is. So
Pre-listing package.
first you have to go to a neighborhood, and then you have to determine what size of the house they live in, how long they lived in the house, if it's 2 levels, 1 level, or if it has a pool. Is everybody following me? Okay, so the first question is, because in the tax record, you can find out where everybody, by what date that they purchased. So the question is, how long have you lived in the house? Now, you know that they usually remember within 2 or 3 years, that they're usually not accurate. But, and then the second question that you ask is your house bigger or smaller? Because if it's bigger, you know they're downsizing. And if it's small, anyway, but
No,
then-
it's so that you can put a range.
You can
of
put a
square
range of
footage
square
when you're doing a
footage.
search.
right? And then also, you know, because in the tax records, whether it has a pool or not, and then 1 story, 2 story, you know, oh, this is a 1 level. Do you have 2 levels, or you have 1 level? And now you have all your answers, and then you can look at them up, and then you can drop off the CMA. It's a little advanced, but that's where we're going with trying to convert leads. The best way to convert a lead is to drop off a packet. Yes, JB.
I mean, you didn't say it, but I think you also mean, but you should also know at least one of their names, or at least the first name.
Yes.
Yes, good.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's actually first. When they walk in the door, you ask.
No,
your
when they
name.
call on the phone, this is Mark's. This is I'm just a neighbor.
I was talking open house leads. I'm a neighbor.
Oh.
Or were
got
you
it,
talking
got it.
on the phone, Mark?
Either one.
I thought it was the open house that we were talking about.
Me
That's
too.
what,
I'm the one that's lost.
Yeah, you're
That's
way-
not, that is totally normal.
Yes.
is that where we were?
Yes.
We were in an open house, and then, because that's typically when I hear I'm a neighbor. I mean, that's
When I hear I'm a neighbor, and I was just curious, I say, oh, that's awesome. Do you live, my guess wrong is, are you also on Main Street? Yeah. Oh, cool. Are you closer to the cul-de-sac, or are you closer to the park? No, we live over in the cul-de-sac. That's my guess wrong. Is I have a series of questions that help me pinpoint where they are. Oh, cool. And then the more I know about that neighborhood, the easier it is for me. This is where I showcase my knowledge, right? Oh, awesome. Are you the 2-story with that huge elm tree in the front yard?
Did you see my kids?
Lemonade
stand
No, we
last
live right.
weekend?
Yeah, exactly. But no, we live right across the street from that. Oh, okay, awesome. With the red Mustang that's out front. Okay, cool. Got it. Right? Like now because sellers only want to hire one of 2 things, local or trustworthy. right? Like somebody they have a trust with because they were referred to that person, or somebody that's local that knows their neighborhood.
Right. So why you ask these questions is
Showcase
to
your knowledge.
Showcase your.
If
local
they
area.
say that they don't live on Main Street, then I go to the neighborhood level. Oh, okay, but are you guys in Pinnacle, which is the name of a subdivision inside of Greyhawk? No. Then they correct you. No, we're in Montevina. We're in Montevina. Oh, awesome. In Montevina. How long you guys lived there? Right. And it's just a very casual conversation that really helps you be able to pinpoint them later. All right. So, but to get back to that but Mark, the other way that I go with that, because in my mind, I had sign call, right? Like if somebody calls off of the sign and they say, I was just curious, I'm just a neighbor, I was just curious at the price. I say, oh, okay, yeah.
So you don't have the internet?
No, because we don't get a lot of sign calls about price anymore.
Ever. Yeah, they don't exist.
They always look them up now.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's why I
so
thought
then,
it had to be the open house.
Fair. So let me go back into the open house, because the other thing that we do in an open house is I present a list. I do a mini listing presentation wrapped as a buyer benefit. Okay, because if they don't tell you that they're looking, or if they just say that they're looking or whatever, they just say they're just curious.
Because if they're a neighbor, they have a house and you know they're going to sell. So
I assume, dude, I'm in an open house looking for sellers. Let me just start there. Like everybody that walks in has a house that they want to sell with me.
Does anyone else have that attitude? Because that's my attitude as well. I'm in an open house looking for sellers. Okay, good.
Right.
JB.
Like, all right. I'm going to get some neighbor's going to walk in and they're interviewing agents, even though they're not telling me when they walk in, hi, I'm here to interview you to see if I want to hire you.
Yes.
Instead, they
remind me of my recent loss. Yeah.
Instead, they walk in and they say, hi, I'm just looking, or whatnot, right? And once you can figure out something a little bit closer to what they're looking for, the reason why I wrap a mini listing presentation as a buyer benefit is because I don't want to insult them and tell them, I know you're really a seller. Let me tell you all the things that I do for you as a seller.
So we would never say that.
I never say that.
Okay.
Instead, I say, oh, you're looking for a house smaller than this that has to have a pool? All right, let me look through the list of properties that we're getting ready to list. Because when we have clients that contact us, when we meet with them, a lot of times we give them strategies on how to help them sell for more money. We pay for the house to be cleaned, for painting to get done. We have a stager that goes out, and anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks, we have these coming soon properties as we help people prepare their properties for market. Let me look through any of those to see if any of them meet your criteria. You have a stager that goes out to the houses? Oh yeah, on every set. Absolutely. Right. But I don't start with, let me give you a pitch of what we do to list houses. I start by saying it just takes a little bit of time for us to prepare properties for sale, so that wrapped as a buyer benefit, there might be one for you in that group. Here's the reason why we might have more properties in that group. I don't know. Did I explain that poorly? Sometimes I feel like it makes sense in my head.
I'd be willing to buy a comma.
Yes. That's awesome. Wrap a mini listing presentation as a buyer benefit. That's as simple as I can define how I talk to sellers in an open house as buyers.
But I think it's key to know what your unique selling proposition is as a listing agent, so you can actually wrap it. So you actually,
Fair.
to me, because we offer more stuff, right? So
yes, we look at marketing as a listing in 3 different phases, from pre-MLS, coming soon, active. Like I can talk about whatever it is that we do as a way to buy as a way for me to go back and look to see if we have anything that's in there.
okay, so we attacked the neighbor, we attacked the person that was non-committal. Is there any objections that we haven't? Because I mean, that's kind of wrapping up the.
Yeah, all right. What other objections do you guys hear out there? JB?
Yeah. We haven't addressed relative. I've got a cousin, and when I find a house, I'm just going to call him and he'll give me half the commission. So that's fine.
That's awesome. What brokerages is he with?
Sketchyhomes.com.
Sketchy Homes. I've actually heard of Sketchy Homes. That's cool. Is he out there looking in the field for all the houses that Like, how often do you meet up with him?
I don't think he sold anything in the last 3 years, but he still has his license, and he told me to just give him a call if I find something.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm not going to role play with you, JB, but I will tell you that there are times that I offer a referral fee. Right. And then what I do is separate how we find properties, right? Because some of the homes that sell before they hit the market.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
Some of the homes that sell on day zero. Do you think that those are the best homes priced correctly, or the worst homes priced incorrectly that sell immediately? The best. Oh, okay. Yeah. Us too. That's actually what we find. So our goal in helping buyers is to identify properties before they even hit the MLS, so that your cousin or yourself that's searching the internet might not even know that they're available when they're already sold. So your strategy works as long as you're comfortable with buying a house that isn't as the best possible house for yourself.
Yeah, or, I mean, to me, even almost 30 to 40% of the houses we're now making offers before we're even seeing them. So if you're making it a requirement that you have to visit it, then call your friend, you're probably missing all the best houses. Have you thought about that? Because actually true, right? Like if you have to make it a requirement that you're going to go to a house, then call your agent, like you have no chance of winning. Anyway.
Fair. With the supply crisis that we're in.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
But
to me, the
we've
question
also-
is would you buy a house if you fell in love and you had to make a decision to buy it? What if there was no compensation for your cousin, or would you still use your cousin? I mean,
oh, you mean what if there's no
I mean,
co-broke offered?
Right.
Would you pay your cousin out of your pocket if the house that you fell in love with didn't offer a
I was
co-broke?
just trying to say is, well, I mean, because usually the tactic, if they say cousin, JB, my tactic is, well, I have homes that we don't offer a co-broke for, right? Like I have unlisted inventory that I could only show you, but if it was the perfect house and your cousin couldn't get paid, would you still buy it? Is usually where I would go with that.
Yeah.
And then I would then find them a house that's unlisted and call them and say,
I got one.
yeah, I got one, right? Like I got a great house, but you can only see it if you don't use your cousin. Are you open to that? Because sometimes they say no and sometimes they say yes.
Right.
Right. Sometimes they'll burn their cousin, and those are the ones you want to focus on.
They don't burn their cousin though by a verbal initial conversation. They burn their cousin when they think that you have something that is exactly what they want.
And they can only buy it through you.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason this came up is because a lot of times people say, I want to use my cousin, but they're actually not committed to the cousin. And if you allow that, again, first, did you sign something with them? What?
I just think of the clients that we've had conversations with that were like, well, let's see, if you could do it this way, then I could tell my cousin that.
Yes.
Right. Or like they tell you what they need in order to get them off the hook of working with their cousin and still being able to go to a family reunion.
Right. Because it's the in-laws son that they really don't even like the in-law, but they do like the son kind of. Yeah.
Nice. Good one. Thank you for bringing that one up, JB. What
All right.
else? What other ones did we miss? I think Steven's walking through the airport. Oh no, he's about to walk into our office.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
He's
Yes.
meeting with me.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in today's topic of how to overcome the property level lead objections.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting a trainer's hat
Yeah.
on. Do you like our
And
new background?
if you're local, we're doing a 5-city tour for Real Estate Leopard. We're going to Scottsdale first, and then we're going to Chandler. We're going to the west side. We're going to, I think, Glendale a day, Peoria,
Biltmore area.
Biltmore,
Phoenix.
Tempe. Yes.
All right.
Please join us. Thank you.
Adios, guys.